right now we're going to take a look at what's grabbing headlines in the newspapers here in France with Flo Villamino. Hi there, Flo.
Okay.
We're going to start off here in Paris. It is the summer. The city, every single year, it turns parts of the town into a beach for those of us who don't manage to get away. It's popular. It's been around for about 14 years. This year, there's a note of controversy.
That's right. I must admit, I'm a big fan of Paris Plages. You might have been experiencing these artificial beaches if you're in Paris. What's so controversial is that this year, the Paris Plages project is teaming up with Tel Aviv, so Israel's second largest city, to celebrate Tel Aviv's culture. They're going to be food trucks, outdoor activities, DJs, all this is scheduled to take place on Thursday. It's called Tel Aviv-sur-Seine, so Tel Aviv on the Seine, the river, in Paris. Now, why is this so controversial? Well, it's really sparked outrage among pro-Palestinian activists, as you can imagine, especially online. For instance, there's been a trending hashtag Tel Aviv-sur-Seine. The police, meanwhile, are really worried that the festival on Thursday could get a little bit out of hand. There could be violence. You can see here, you can read about it in Figaro. The police is worried. 300 extra police officers will actually be commissioned for Thursday.
At the same time, it's a beach place, isn't it, Tel Aviv? People could say, you know, this is a beach event, this is a beach city, they're coming together. What's so wrong with that?
Well, it's become really political. If we take a look at l'Humanité, the left-leaning paper, the communist paper, in fact, they've always been very pro-Palestinian. Now, they come back on comments that Danielle Simonet, she's a Paris councillor from the far-left party, the Parti de Gauche, she said the event was indecent given its timing. It comes 1 year after a conflict, a very deadly conflict in Gaza. She also says that it comes at a time when the government is intensifying its settlement policies. Now, she's been attacked from Jewish groups as being anti-Semitic, but l'Humanité agrees with her today in this article that you can see here. And if we take a look at that cartoon, you can see here they're depicting Paris Plages, so the very center of Paris. You can see City Hall there. It looks like a war zone, and you can see here they're talking about no to Tel Aviv-sur-Seine. They talk about the apartheid plage for the summer of 2015 and Gaza in the summer of 2014, 2,200 people died, including 550 children.
Indeed, but the Paris City Council is saying the show will go on.
That's right. The Paris City Council has said that Paris Plage, what it's all about is about the holiday. It's about bringing the beach to people who can't go away from Paris. And also, the Paris City Council said that to cancel the event would actually be to mean giving into radicalization. You can read about that in the Huffington Post, which comes back on this very heated debate that this summer event has created. What's interesting is Libération, the left-leaning paper, agrees with the Paris City Council in its editorial today. It lashes out against what it calls a knee-jerk reaction to be against anything Israeli. This is a dangerous attitude, according to Libération. Let's not mix everything up. A city is not a state. And on top of that, if there is one place in the world, according to Libération, where there is a yearning for freedom, where there is a yearning for peace, well, that's Tel Aviv.
It's known as a very liberal place, isn't it? Let's move on. We'll look at Le Monde now. An article there focusing on new figures from the French Interior Ministry about French people who have gone to Syria to fight alongside militants.
That's right. What's interesting about these figures is just how precise they are. You can read all about it in Le Monde. So since the beginning of the conflict in Syria, 910 French citizens have gone to fight jihad. 494 are still there, according to the Ministry of the Interior, and 126 of them have been killed. So Le Monde does the math. 1 in 7 French jihadists fighting in Syria have been killed. And if you actually take a closer look at the figures, what's interesting is the fatality rate of French jihadists has gone through the roof. Le Monde does the math. Essentially, the fatality rate has increased 280% since July 2014, so a year ago. Why the change? Well, Le Monde explains that essentially French citizens have risen in the ranks of the Islamic State group, and so they're more likely to be sent to the front line and carry out attacks. Interestingly enough, they're also carrying out more and more suicide attacks. If we take a closer look at the graphics and figures in Le Monde, they focus here on the very bottom on suicide attacks. French citizens have been implicated in 11 suicide attacks since the beginning of the war, including 8 in 2015, so quite a sharp rise there.
Very, very specific statistics indeed. Let's move on to an international story being covered in the French papers. Japan, the first nuclear power plant to be switched back on since the Fukushima disaster.
That's right. That's a huge story here in France. France, of course, a big nuclear power itself. It's on the front page of Les Echos, the business paper, which looks at the business angle of all this. You can see it's talking about how Japan is betting on this nuclear resistance. Now, there have been, of course, a lot of protests against this move by Shinzo Abe's government. But La Croix, the Christian paper, comes back on the fact that the prime minister is really placing a lot of hope on an atomic comeback. His government hopes that nuclear energy will cover 20 to 22% of Japan's energy needs by 2030. Why? Well, Lacroix says he doesn't really have a choice. Japan doesn't really have a lot of natural resources, so depend a lot on nuclear energy. Importing gas and oil is expensive. It's just driven up the cost of electricity by 30% since 2011, and it's also better for the environment. And you can read more about that in Les Echos.
That's a debate.
That's a debate in terms of global warming, at least.
In terms of carbon emissions.
In terms of carbon emissions, you can see here Les Echos talks about a nuclear necessity, but of course this is a very controversial debate.
Indeed. All right, let's have a much less controversial story to finish on. A treasure at the heart of Paris. I'm not talking about you, Flo.
Oh,
it could be.
you're
I'm
so
talking
sweet.
about literal treasure.
This is a real treasure. This is an incredible story. It really blew my mind this morning. France's central bank, this is the Banque de France, it has its headquarters in the center of Paris, and it has a treasure underground. This is 25 meters underground. It has a treasure of 2,500 tons of gold.
What?
That's worth 82 billion euros. Now, how is this gold kept? Well, it's kept in columns. There are 720 columns, 6 meters high, a surface of 10,000 meters square. This is a huge surface. It's a real treasure chest. Now, the trick is, though, that it's located in the middle of a water table. So, according to Le Figaro, it's the capital's best kept secret, and it's a treasure that's very safe. You'll never get to it.
It's fantastic. I can imagine it featuring in a James Bond movie or
Maybe
something.
in the next one, yeah.
Yeah, a bit of a heist. Thanks so much, Flo Villamino, with that look through today's French papers for us.